Hello and welcome to this 1-hour English listening practice. Tonight, I will guide you through gentle stories and soothing reflections to help you relax, calm your mind, and drift into sleep. Make yourself comfortable. Lie down in a quiet place. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Let go of the tension in your body. Feel your feet, your legs, your hips. Let them sink. Now relax your chest and shoulders. Let them drop. Relax your neck, jaw, face. Let your face become soft. As you continue to breathe gently, notice the rhythm of your breath, in and out. With each exhale, allow your thoughts to settle. With each inhale, feel calm, safe, and peaceful. As you breathe in, perhaps imagine a soft light coming in through your nose. And as you breathe out, imagine darkness leaving any worry, tension, or stress. Nothing else matters now but your breath. Let your mind slow, deeper, more peaceful. Imagine you are walking slowly through a gentle forest just as evening begins. The sky is painted with soft tones of pink, lavender, and gold. The air is cool. You feel soft under your feet. Moss, fallen leaves, earth. With each step you feel lighter. You hear distant birds singing their last song before night. You come to a small stream. The water flows quietly, a soothing sound. You sit by the stream. You feel the gentle, cool breeze across your skin. You watch the water ripple over smooth stones. The sound is gentle, natural, calming. As evening deepens, fireflies appear, tiny lights dancing among the trees. You see the glow. You breathe in deeply the scent of damp earth, pine, and floral blossoms. You allow peace to fill you. You slowly rise and walk toward a clearing. In that clearing, you find a cozy cabin with warm light in the windows. You step inside. The air is warm, safe. There is a soft rug at your feet. A gentle fire flickers in the hearth. You make yourself comfortable, perhaps sitting or lying down. You feel safe, secure, and calm. Outside, you hear the gentle wind through trees, maybe rain tapping softly on the roof. Every sound adds to this calmness, this peace. In this cabin, there is a window with curtains open slightly. You look up to the sky. The stars begin to show. Soft moonlight filters in. You gaze up, letting your mind drift. Let stories, memories, gentle images float by, as clouds in the night sky. And now, you let those images settle, letting go of each one as you breathe out. Now I'll tell you a short story. Very simple, warm, easy to follow. The Little Sparrow. Once upon a time, there was a small sparrow who lived near a lake. Each morning, the sparrow would fly over the lake to gather dewdrops from the grass. The sparrow loved the quiet of the dawn, the reflection of light in the water, and the gentle rustling of grass. One morning, the sparrow saw its own reflection and wondered who the other bird was. It sat by the water, listening to the wind, letting it calm, realizing the reflection was itself, whole, beautiful, safe. The lantern on the hill. On a small hill, there was a lantern that shone each night. A traveler, tired and weary, trudged up the hill. The light guided the traveler, comforting, warm. The traveler rested, warmed by the glow, and remembered home. Though night is dark, guidance by small lights show the way. The lantern's flame softly flickered, safe in the wind, a symbol of hope. Now let us sit in stillness, reflecting. I will share some calming affirmations. You may repeat silently if you wish, or simply listen. I am calm, I am safe. My body settles into rest. My breathing is easy and peaceful. I release the cares of the day. I am enough just as I am. I forgive myself for today's mistakes. I feel grateful for the kindness I saw, the love I felt, the simple joys. Tomorrow is a new day. I will rest now. Now think of 3 things you are grateful for from today. Let these kindly memories warm your heart. Story 2. The Adventure of Emma and the Enchanted Forest. Sure. Here's a story that combines a rich narrative with vocabulary and expressions that could help with learning English. The story is designed to be engaging and educational for English learners. Title: The Adventure of Emma and the Enchanted Forest. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and lush green meadows, there lived a curious girl named Emma. Emma was not like the other children in the village. While the other children played games and helped with daily chores, Emma had a passion for exploring the unknown. Her eyes sparkled with wonder every time she heard stories about distant lands, magical creatures, and hidden treasures. Emma's village was peaceful, and the villagers were kind-hearted people who lived simple lives. Yet, there was one mystery that had always intrigued Emma. At the edge of the village, beyond the tall oak trees and across the sparkling river, stood a vast forest known as the Enchanted Forest. Legends spoke of strange creatures, glowing flowers, and trees that whispered secrets in the wind. Some said it was a place where magic existed, while others warned that it was dangerous and full of unknown dangers. One sunny morning, after finishing her chores, Emma decided that today would be the day she would explore the Enchanted Forest. Her heart pounded with excitement, but also with a touch of nervousness. She had never been so far from the village before, and the stories about the forest were both thrilling and terrifying. However, her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She packed a small bag with some food, a flask of water, and a few tools just in case she needed them, then set off toward the forest. As she walked closer to the edge of the forest, she could feel the air growing cooler. The trees towered over her, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. The deeper she went, the quieter it became, as if the forest was holding its breath. Emma's eyes darted around, searching for anything unusual, but all she saw were tall trees and thick bushes. There were no signs of the magical creatures or glowing flowers that the villagers had spoken about. After walking for what felt like hours, Emma found a small clearing in the middle of the forest. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a warm golden glow over the ground. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone statue of a lion. The statue was weathered and covered in moss, but its eyes were still sharp, as if it were watching her. Curious, Emma approached the statue. She could feel a strange energy in the air, and the closer she got, the more she felt as though something was watching her. As she stood in front of the statue, she heard a soft voice, barely a whisper in the breeze. "Welcome, young traveler," the voice said. Emma gasped and stepped back, looking around to see who had spoken, but there was no one in sight. The voice seemed to come from the statue itself. She stared at it in awe, wondering if she was imagining things. However, the voice spoke again. "You have come to the heart of the Enchanted Forest. Few dare to venture this far. Do you seek knowledge, or do you seek adventure?" Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. "I seek both," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. The statue's eyes seemed to glow for a moment, and then, in the blink of an eye, a path appeared before her. It was a narrow trail, lined with flowers that shimmered in the sunlight. The path seemed to beckon her forward, and without hesitation, Emma began walking down it. The trail led her deeper into the forest, where the trees grew even taller, and the air smelled of sweet flowers and fresh earth. The further she went, the more magical the surroundings became. She saw animals she had never seen before, creatures with fur that glowed in the dark, birds with feathers of every color imaginable, and rabbits that hopped in and out of sight, as if they were playing hide and seek with her. Suddenly, Emma noticed something unusual. In the distance, there was a soft, golden light. As she approached it, she realized that it was coming from a cluster of flowers, unlike any flowers she had ever seen. The petals glowed with a soft, pulsing light, and their fragrance was sweet but not overpowering. Intrigued, Emma reached out to touch one of the flowers. As her fingers brushed against it, a warm, tingling sensation ran through her body. The flowers seemed to respond to her touch, their light growing brighter. Then, to her amazement, the flowers began to hum, creating a melody that resonated with her heart. The voice from the statue returned, this time stronger and clearer. "You have awakened the song of the forest. The forest speaks to those who listen. You are not just an adventurer, Emma. You are a listener, a keeper of the forest's secrets." Emma's heart swelled with pride. She had always loved stories, and now she was part of one. She had discovered something that no one else in her village had ever seen. But there was still more to explore. With a sense of purpose, she continued down the glowing path, determined to see where it would lead. The path took her to a small pond, where the water shimmered like liquid silver. In the center of the pond stood a stone pedestal, and upon it rested a single crystal. The crystal was clear, but inside it swirled a mist of colors, blue, green, and purple. It was unlike anything Emma had ever seen. As she approached the pedestal, the crystal began to glow brighter, and the voice spoke again. "This is the crystal of wisdom. It holds the knowledge of the forest, of the past, present, and future. Only those with a pure heart can unlock its secrets." Emma reached out and touched the crystal. The moment her fingers made contact with it, a wave of warmth surged through her body. She felt as though she were being pulled into the crystal, her surroundings fading away. In the blink of an eye, she was no longer standing in the forest. Instead, she was standing in a vast, open field, surrounded by ancient trees. The air was thick with the scent of earth and magic. Before her stood an old woman, her silver hair flowing like a river behind her. Her eyes sparkled with wisdom, and she smiled warmly at Emma. "You are the chosen one," the woman said. "The forest has chosen you to protect its secrets. You are the keeper of its magic. But remember, young traveler, with great power comes great responsibility." Emma nodded, her heart racing. She could feel the weight of the responsibility settling on her shoulders, but she also felt honored. She had always dreamed of an adventure like this, and now it was happening. The woman placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "Go back to your village. Share what you have learned, but be careful. The world is changing, and there are forces that seek to destroy the magic of the forest. Protect it and protect yourself." With that, the world around Emma began to fade, and she found herself back in the forest, standing by the pond. The crystal had returned to its pedestal, and the flowers were no longer glowing. Everything seemed peaceful again, but Emma knew that her life would never be the same. She made her way back to the village, her heart full of the wisdom and magic she had discovered. The enchanted forest had revealed its secrets to her, and she was now its protector. And though she didn't yet understand the full extent of her new role, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Emma returned home, She realized that the greatest adventure wasn't always about discovering new places. It was about discovering the magic within yourself. And Emma had found that magic, deep in the heart of the enchanted forest. Story number 3. Title: When Dawn Meets Twilight. The sun had just begun to cast its first golden streaks across Dhaka's restless skyline, and Anika Rahman was already awake, cradled by the aroma of fresh coriander and the distant hum of autorickshaws. She paused by her small wooden bookshelf, brushing her fingers over the spines of old volumes. Architecture, poetry, travel journals. Each book was a companion, each story a dream she held softly. Anika's day always began the same. A cup of black tea, 2 small pieces of toast, and a brief moment looking out across the balcony at her modest street in Mohammedpur. The early air smelled of dew and the lingering traces of monsoon, even though the rains had long retreated. She leaned against the railing, breathing in the quiet, trying to write that opening line she'd carry in her head for weeks. The city breathes, the city dreams. But the words never quite came. She ran late again. Her father's old yellow station wagon would honk in 5 minutes. So she snapped her notebook shut, tucked it into her bag, and stepped into Dhaka's dawn bustle. Down a narrow lane, the bookstore stood, half-tucked between a baker's shop and a tailor's. Its wooden door was painted a soft seafoam green, with peeling edges and a brass handle that felt warm to her touch. Smoke from nearby kitchen fires mingled with dust motes dancing in the pale light. It was here, among the musty pages and carved mahogany shelves, that she felt most at home. She unlocked the door, dusted the windows, and arranged a stack of vintage architectural catalogues by the entrance. She always placed the one with pictures of old colonial facades where passers-by could see it, a silent invitation to linger, to respect old stones, old stories. The bell over the door chimed softly around 9, as Ryan Chowdhury stepped in. He was tall, with a quiet presence, hair damp from a morning shower. In his hand, a rolled blueprint peeked from his sleeve. If you saw him without noticing, you might think he was just another customer, but there was something about the way he paused under the light, scanning the shelves, as though he sought more than books. "Good morning," Anika said, her voice soft. "Good morning," he replied, his accent carrying the warmth of Chittagong sea winds. "I'm looking for old books on colonial architecture. Do you have anything about the Mughal-era influence on Dhaka?" Anika's heart fluttered. Hers was a precise passion. "Yes," she responded, stepping aside. "We have 2 volumes. One is a collection of architectural drawings. The other has essays by historians. Would you like me to show them?" Ryan nodded, and together they walked through narrow aisles, Anika carrying the books in her hands. She noticed he paused at each stack of photos, traced fingers over faded engravings, eyes curious, respectful. He opened one of the volumes and turned a page to a black-white photograph. A grand old building with arches, tall windows, time-worn. "These arches," he whispered, "look like dreams of strength and death, of hope and decay." Anika's fingers rested lightly on the same page. "Yes," she said. "People forget that architecture is memory. It holds what our ancestors built. But many of these buildings are being torn down, replaced with concrete, glass. Fast progress." Ryan looked up, a crease of concern at his brow. "In my project," he admitted quietly, "we're designing a structure that may require removing some old facades. It's demanded by clients. But I value their history. I believe we can design so that new and old can live together." Anika's heart both leapt and trembled. This was the conflict she had feared. Progress versus preservation. Modernity versus memory. They stood there, fingers touching the edge of a photograph, sharing a breath. Outside, the world moved on. Shopkeepers, traffic, children laughing on the street. Inside, between them, a moment suspending time. Ryan closed the book. "Thank you, Anika, for understanding." She nodded. "I hope you don't mind if I walk with you to your site later. I'd like to show you some heritage places that have value many may not see." He smiled, half surprised. "I'd like that very much." And so, the seed was planted. Two souls bound by design, by dreaming, by a sense that beauty lies not only in the new, but in the lasting, the worn, the cherished. Little did they know that friendship born in those dusty shelves would be tested, reforged, and rendered something deeper than either expected. Chapter 2: Second Meetings, Unspoken Words. The bell on the cafe door gave a gentle chime as Anika stepped in, brushing a strand of hair from her face. It was late afternoon, and the sky outside had softened to a muted gray, the kind of shade that made the air feel still and expectant. She wasn't a regular here, but she liked the quiet corners, the old wooden chairs, the chalkboard menu written with careful cursive. She needed this moment, time away from customers, dust, and delicate old pages. She ordered her usual, lemon tea, light on the sugar, and carried it carefully to the window seat. The chair creaked slightly as she sat down, opening her notebook. She wrote the date at the top of a clean page but hesitated before writing anything else. "Anika," he turned, startled. There stood Ryan, the man from the bookstore. Today he wore a gray kurta and black jeans, his sleeves rolled up. He held a phone in one hand and a small sketchbook in the other. There was something unexpectedly casual about him here, outside the dusty walls of the shop, and something unexpectedly disarming. "Oh," she said, setting her pen down. "Hello. Do you mind if I—" He motioned toward the seat opposite hers. She nodded, surprised. "Sure." He sat down, placing his sketchbook gently on the table, as if it were fragile. "I didn't know you came here. I don't often. Just needed some space to think." "Same." He smiled slightly. "Dhaka can feel so loud, even when it's quiet." She returned the smile before glancing at his sketchbook. "Working." "Trying to," he said, flipping it open to reveal detailed line drawings. Architectural sketches. A roofline, a dome, the curvature of an old gate. "But I'm struggling. My client wants something modern, glass-heavy. But I keep thinking about what you said, about buildings being memory." She blinked, surprised. "You remembered that." "I think about it more than I expected to." Their eyes met across the table. There was silence, not awkward, not tense, just filled with things unspoken. Around them, soft instrumental music drifted through the speakers. The waitress passed by with the scent of cinnamon and baked apples. For a moment, time slowed. Anika glanced at the sketch again. "May I?" He pushed it toward her. She studied the arches, the line work, the shading of light. "This looks like the facade on Nawab Street." He nodded. "That's where I was earlier today. It was beautiful. I didn't notice it until I slowed down." "You noticed it because you were willing to look." They both paused. "I like drawing old buildings," he said. "There's something poetic in their silence." She looked at him, thoughtful. "You're an architect who sketches ruins and reads in antique bookstores. That's rare. And you're a bookstore clerk who argues about preserving old bricks. That's rare too." She laughed, a light, sudden sound like wind through chimes. He smiled, as if he had waited for it. They sat there, sipping their tea, speaking about more things. How Dhaka had changed in the last decade. how both of them preferred handwritten letters to emails, how the city's history was both crumbling and being reborn. Anika didn't notice the time until her phone buzzed. A message from her sister. "I should go," she said, closing her notebook. "My niece's birthday. I promised to bring cake." "Wait," Ryan said. "Before you go." He tore a page from his sketchbook and handed it to her. A soft pencil sketch of the bookstore, her bookstore, drawn in delicate lines. The seafoam door, the old wooden sign, the shadow of a banyan tree behind it. "You sketched this?" He nodded. She held it like it was glass. "It's beautiful. I didn't sign it yet. I thought maybe you'd like to write your name on it too." They stood uncertain, shy. "I'll see you around," he asked. "Maybe," she said, tucking the sketch into her notebook. As she left, he watched her go, her braid swinging lightly against her shoulder, her hand still holding the sketch. Outside, the sky darkened to a deep indigo. Somewhere in the city, Azen began to echo, soft, distant, grounding. And inside the cafe, Ryan picked up his pencil again. Chapter 3. Cracks beneath the surface. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence, of sketches and thoughts and long glances at the bookstore door that never opened for him. Ryan stood on a dusty construction site in Lalmatia, the sun harsh above, the noise of drilling and shouting pulling at his nerves. His boots kicked through broken brick and gravel, but his mind wasn't on the new high-rise being planned. It was on the old building standing just beside it. Faded white arches, wooden balconies, iron railings rusted into delicate lace. The Hamid Heritage Home, as the locals called it. A building with no formal protection status. No plaque. No museum guide. Just memory. It stood in the way of the project. And the investors had made it clear. Remove it. That evening, at a public consultation organized by the developers, Ryan noticed a small group forming at the far end of the hall. Locals, residents, and a few students. And then, Anika. She stood near the corner, arms crossed, notebook in hand. Her expression was not the soft one he remembered from the cafe. It was set, focused, strong. He felt a wave of discomfort pass through him. She hadn't seen him yet. The room quieted as the head architect, not Ryan but his senior, stepped up to speak about the new residential complex that would bring modern luxury to the neighborhood. Words like progress, efficiency, and vision filled the air. Then from the back a voice rose. "What about the Heritage House on Plot C?" All heads turned. Anika stepped forward. Controlled. "That house was built in 1894, she said. Its foundation is still strong. Its design mirrors Indo-Saracenic architecture, rarely seen in Dhaka anymore. Are you planning to preserve it?" The senior architect shifted, uncomfortable. "Unfortunately, the structure doesn't meet modern building codes. Preservation isn't feasible." Ryan felt his stomach tighten. Anika's eyes scanned the room and then found his. Shock, recognition, surprise. Then something colder, disappointment. "You're on this project?" she asked, voice direct. Ryan stepped forward. "Yes," he said softly. "But I didn't know. So you're the reason demolition papers were sent this week?" Silence fell. Ryan opened his mouth to explain, but hesitated. He hadn't signed them, not directly. But he hadn't objected either. The senior architect cleared his throat. "We appreciate all input. But decisions have been made. Anika turned back to the room. Progress without preservation is erasure. We're losing stories, brick by brick. What are we leaving behind for the next generation? Just glass. Someone clapped, then another. The tension cracked slightly, but Ryan's heart sank. Later, as the hall emptied, Anika stood alone under the flickering hallway light, her notebook clutched to her chest. Ryan approached slowly. "Anika, you should have told me," she said, not unkindly, but with a weariness in her voice. "I didn't know the building meant something to you," he said. "I didn't even know it existed before last week." "That's the problem," she replied. "You see the blueprints. I see the memories. I grew up playing in that courtyard. My grandmother used to tell me stories on the steps. That house holds more history than any brochure will ever show." He looked down. "It's complicated." "No," she said. "It's convenient." Ryan felt the sting in her words. But more than that, he felt the weight of their truth. "You're not who I thought you were," she added, softer now. "I'm not sure I am either," he replied honestly. She nodded once. "Then maybe it's better we stop here, before more pieces fall." She turned and walked away, and he let her. Chapter 4: Echoes of Stone and Silence. The next morning, Doc awoke to a slow drizzle, the kind that soaked the city without thunder, without warning. Just a gray, steady curtain of rain. Ryan stood at the edge of the Hamid Heritage home, a clipboard in his hand, raindrops collecting on the paper. He didn't carry an umbrella. The rain felt deserved. The building looked different now. Not like an obstacle or a liability or a line item on a demolition permit. It looked like a story. He ran his fingers gently across one of the stone columns. The surface was cool and uneven, worn smooth in some places by hands long gone. Intricate floral carvings wrapped around the top, faded but unmistakably beautiful. Vines crawled up the side of the east wall, blooming gently with monsoon flowers that no one had planted, and yet they remained, like the house had chosen to protect its own kind of beauty. Inside the cracked windows, he saw the dusty remains of furniture, a wooden swing, a broken harmonium, a child's chair missing one leg. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter, song, and silence. He wondered, had Anika once sat on that swing? Was she the child who ran through those halls with a book in her hand and stories in her eyes? He sighed and stepped away, wiping his wet hair back with one hand. The truth was loud now. He hadn't tried hard enough. He hadn't questioned the permit. He hadn't fought the decision. He'd stayed silent, the kind of silence that lets destruction pass through unnoticed. And now he had a choice. That afternoon, he sat across from his project supervisor at a cafe near Gulshan. "We can't redesign the entire complex," the supervisor said, frustration in his tone. "You realize how far we are into this plan?" Ryan took a breath. "I'm not asking to redesign the whole thing. I'm asking to reroute the layout. Shift the garden space. Incorporate the facade of the heritage house as a feature." The supervisor raised an eyebrow. "To save a broken house no one even lives in. To save history. To give the community something that means more than square footage." Long pause. Then, "Are you sure this is about architecture?" Ryan didn't flinch. It's about responsibility. That evening he returned to the bookstore. It was quiet. The lights were dimmed. Anika was behind the counter, reorganizing a stack of poetry books. He hesitated, then walked in, footsteps echoing faintly on the wooden floor. She looked up, surprised, then guarded. "I'm not here to argue," he said gently. "I'm here because I went back." She said nothing, but her hands paused over a book by Tagore. "I visited the Hamid house this morning," he continued. "I saw the carvings, vines, the swing." Now she met his eyes. Her voice was barely a whisper. "It's not just a house. I know." She studied him for a long moment. "Do you?" "I think I'm starting to." He pulled a folded paper from his jacket, wet at the edges, smudged in places. "It's the new layout. I proposed saving the facade, incorporating it into the design as a feature, preserving it. I even suggested a small public courtyard using the existing structure." She blinked, surprised. They agreed. Not easily, but yes, they agreed to revise the plan. Anika looked down, eyes lingering on the drawing. "You fought for it," she said quietly. "I fought because you were right," he replied. "I needed to stop thinking in terms of buildings and start thinking in terms of belonging. This city isn't a blank canvas. It's a memory book. And I nearly erased a page that mattered to someone He stopped. Anika looked up. "Someone you." He smiled gently. "Someone I want to know better." They stood in the quiet again, the tension no longer sharp, but soft, like the rain tapping gently on the windows. "I saved the sketch you gave me," she said suddenly, "of the bookstore. I pinned it above my writing desk. Maybe one day I'll draw you in front of it," he said. "Or inside, holding your first published book." She laughed softly. "Don't be ridiculous." "Why not? You already live in stories. Maybe one day you'll write ours." Her smile lingered, shy but steady. "We'll see." As he turned to leave, she called out softly, "Ryan." He paused. "Thank you for listening." He nodded. "Thank you for making me here." And as he stepped out into the night, the rain had stopped. The sky was clearing, stars slowly blinking into view, each one a quiet reminder that even after storms, light returns. Chapter 5. The Language of Rain. Dhaka's sky had turned to silver again. It wasn't a storm, just that gentle, persistent drizzle that painted the streets in reflections and made everything feel like a memory. The kind of weather that made silence more comfortable, that turned headlights into poetry and umbrellas into shared secrets. Anika stood beneath a mango tree outside the bookstore, watching water gather in puddles. She wasn't in a rush to go home. The rain had made the city quieter than usual, and in that silence, her thoughts were louder. A voice broke gently through the mist. "You'll catch a cold standing there." He turned. Ryan, holding 2 cups of tea in one hand and an umbrella in the other. His hair was wet at the edges, his shirt slightly soaked. He didn't seem to mind. "Lemon ginger," he said, offering her a cup. She took it, fingers brushing his. "Thank you." He raised the umbrella between them, and they stood side by side beneath it. The street in front of them shimmered, and rickshaws rolled by slowly, their bells muffled in the rain. "I like this weather," she said after a moment. "Most people don't. Most people don't stop to listen." Ryan tilted his head. "To what?" She sipped her tea. "To the rain. To the quiet. To what their hearts are trying to say." They didn't speak for a while. The umbrella above them caught the soft patter of raindrops, creating a rhythm that felt like a lullaby. "Can I show you something?" he asked. She looked at him, curious. "Now." He nodded. "Come with me." They walked, sharing the umbrella, through the winding lanes of old Dhaka, past closed tea stalls, shuttered shops, and silent rooftops. Their steps echoed between brick walls and dripping awnings. Finally, they arrived at an old structure near Chowk Bazaar, not as grand as the Hamid House, but charming in its own way. A crumbling watchtower with moss-covered steps, forgotten by time. "I found this place by accident while sketching," he said. "No one notices it. But I come here when I need to think." They climbed the narrow steps slowly, their hands brushing against the cold stone walls for balance. At the top, a view of the city opened before them. Glistening rooftops, distant mosque domes, and a sky so gray it seemed painted with ash. Anika drew in a breath. "It's beautiful. I thought you'd like it." She turned to him, her voice softer now. "Why did you bring me here?" He hesitated. Then, "Because I want you to know who I am. Not the version you met at a construction site, but the version I'm trying to become." She met his eyes. There was something raw in them, not just attraction but truth. "You're not perfect," she said. "I know. You're still learning." "I hope so." She took a step closer, her fingers resting lightly on the edge of his sleeve. "That's all that matters to me." For a moment, neither of them moved. The city stretched out before them, glowing under soft rain and street lamps, and all the noise, the doubts, the walls, the misunderstandings, melted away. Then gently, quietly, he reached out, not to kiss her, not yet, but to hold her hand. She didn't pull away. They stood like that, fingers intertwined, watching Dhaka breathe beneath them. The rain whispered its secrets to the leaves, the stone, the soul of the city. And somewhere in that hush, a new story began. A story not of sudden passion, but of slow-growing trust, of gentle beginnings, of dawn meeting twilight, and finding in the middle something close to love. Chapter 6. The space between us started with silence. Not the gentle kind they used to share beneath trees or tucked between lines of poetry, but a thick, uncertain quiet, like fog that wouldn't lift. They hadn't spoken in 3 days. No late-night text, no bookstore visits, no casual coffees or walks through narrow Dhaka lanes. Just absence. Anika sat on the floor of her bedroom, notebooks scattered around her, pages half-written and then scratched out. She was trying to write again, a short essay on memory and place, but every time she began, Ryan's name found its way between the lines. She hated that. She hated how much he had slipped into her world, and how easily he had stepped out of it again. Her phone buzzed. A news article, forwarded by a friend. Construction begins on Lalmasha project. Heritage structure to be moved, not preserved. Her throat tightened. Moved. She clicked through. The report said that the revised plans, the ones Ryan had shown her, had been rejected at the final stage. Cost issue. Timeline problem. Investor pressure. Excuses. What hurt more was that she had heard it through a news link, not from him. He hadn't even told her. That evening, Ryan was at his apartment, sketching lines that wouldn't stay straight. He stared at the new site map. No heritage facade, no courtyard, just clean geometry, cold design. He had fought. He had sat through meetings, written emails, argued with the lead architect, and in the end sketch money won, time won, profit won. He hadn't. And he hadn't told Anika, 'cause he was ashamed. He knew what that building meant to her, what it meant to the neighborhood, what it meant to the promise he made. Not with grand words but with actions. With that sketcher, the voice was washed sketcher. With that walk in the rain. And now, it was all gone. The next morning he showed up at the bookstore. She was at the counter, organizing a shipment of used books. She looked up surprised. Then her face changed. Not anger. Something worse. Disappointment. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked before he could say anything. He stepped forward slowly. "I found out yesterday morning. They overruled my proposal. Said the design wouldn't pass cost review." She crossed her arms. "And you didn't think I deserved to know?" "I didn't know how to say it." "You say it like you mean it." He paused. "I'm sorry, Anika." She exhaled slowly. "You made me believe it would be different. That you were different. I tried. But you didn't push hard enough." His eyes narrowed. "That's not fair." She stepped around the counter, closer now dat Eisen sketchweise au but firm. What's not fair is falling for someone who promised to protect something sacred and then watched it be torn down. Ryan's voice cracked. "I didn't promise to change the world. I said I'd try. And I did." "You didn't just fail the building," she said. "You failed me." That hit harder than he expected. A long silence passed between them. Bookshelves stood still. The air thickened. Somewhere outside the world went on. "I think maybe," she said finally. "We come from different places. You see the city in lines and blueprints. I see it in memory and soil. And maybe those two things just don't fit." He shook his head. "That's not true." "But we've already broken the thing we were trying to protect," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "What do we build on that?" He left, not in anger, but in sadness. The kind that settles in your chest and doesn't move for days. That night, rain returned to Dhaka. But neither of them noticed. She wrote. He sketched. But the pages stayed blank. And in that silence, the one no umbrella could cover, no tea could soften, two hearts sat just slightly out of rhythm. Part. Chapter 7. Where the Light Finds Us. It was the sound of footsteps in the hallway that woke Anika, soft, hesitant, like someone unsure if they belonged there. She sat up on the couch in the bookstore. She had fallen asleep there again, surrounded by open notebooks, unsent letters, and a single unfinished cup of tea. And then the bell above the door chimed. She stood, heart thudding in her chest. It was Ryan. He looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. Like someone who had walked through a storm and was still trying to find the sky. He held something in his hands. Not a sketch. Not flowers. Brick. Worn reddish-brown. She frowned. What is that? He stepped closer, placing the brick on the counter gently, like it was a sacred offering. "It's from the Hamid house," he said. "They demolished it yesterday. I went early this morning. I took this from the rubble." She stared at it, silent, not sure whether to cry or speak. "I know it doesn't fix anything," he said. "But I thought maybe we could build something new. From what's left." Her voice came slowly. "You think a brick is enough?" "No," he said. "But I'm not here to bring closure. I'm here to bring a beginning." He pulled a rolled-up paper from his satchel. Not like the others. This one wasn't a site plan or a blueprint. He unrolled it. It was a design. For the bookstore. Not a renovation. A celebration. Arched windows inspired by the Hamid house. A reading garden courtyard. A storytelling space with tiles etched in Bangla and English. Both languages side by side. She touched the page gently. "You did this. I want to build it. With you. For the city. For everyone who still believes that memory matters." She looked up at him. "No permits. No investors. None," he smiled. "Just me. And maybe you." She didn't speak. She stepped forward. Closer. She reached for the brick and held it in her hands. It was heavy, real. Worn. Like them. "I've been angry," she said. "Not just about the house. About how quickly things fall apart. I've been afraid," he replied. "That I don't know how to hold on to the right things." Then she whispered. "So let's learn together." Ryan let out a soft breath. Then reached forward. And for the first time in days they embraced. Not the kind of dramatic, passionate embrace found in novels. But something deeper. Steadier. The kind that says, "I see you. Hear you. I want to try again." Later that week they broke ground on the reading garden. Volunteers came. Locals showed up with old bricks and stories. A mural was painted on the outer wall. The Hamid house, the bookstore, and in the middle, two silhouettes standing in the rain under one umbrella. And as the garden began to grow, so did they. Not without disagreements, not without old wounds, but with effort, with gentleness, with love. "When dawn meets twilight," Ryan once said, "the light turns golden for just a moment." They stood in that golden hour now. Not at the beginning, not at the end, but in the middle where real stories live. Romantic and emotional vocabulary. Word/phrase meaning. Embrace a gentle or loving hug. Symbolic of connection. Trust belief in someone's honesty or reliability. Forgiveness choosing to let go of anger or hurt. Intimacy deep personal closeness. Vulnerability being emotionally open and unguarded. Disappointment feeling let down by someone or something. Reconciliation coming back together after a conflict. Bond a strong connection between two people. Healing emotional or physical recovery. Longing a deep desire for something or someone. Gentleness, softness in action, thought or speech. Architecture and place vocabulary. Word/phrase meaning. Facade, the front of a building, often decorative. Blueprint, a detailed plan or technical drawing. Courtyard, an open area surrounded by buildings or walls. Heritage, cultural history passed down generations. Preservation, protecting and maintaining old structures. Demolition, the act of tearing down a building. Structure, something built like a building or bridge. Restoration, repairing something to its original state. Balcony, a platform on the outside of a building. Mural, a large artwork painted directly on a wall. Dialogue and expression, vocabulary. Word/phrase meaning. Whisper, to speak very softly. Sigh, a deep breath showing emotion, relief, sadness, etc. Pause, a temporary stop in speech or action. Confess, to admit something honestly. Echo, a repeated sound, or the feeling of a repeated memory. Chime, a soft bell sound. Crack, emotionally. When someone's voice or mood changes due to emotion. Glance, a quick or brief look. Tension, a feeling of emotional strain. Shift, a subtle change in mood or position. Atmosphere and setting, vocabulary. Word/phrase meaning. Drizzle, light rain. Fog, thick mist that makes visibility low. Twilight, the soft light after sunset. Golden hour, the warm light shortly after sunrise or before sunset. Stillness, complete quiet or calm. Reflections, mirror images on wet or shiny surfaces. Glow, a soft and steady light. Whispering rain, a poetic way of describing gentle rainfall. Creative and artistic vocabulary. Word/phrase meaning. Sketch, a quick drawing or outline. Notebooks used for writing or journaling ideas. Storytelling, the art of telling stories. Poetry, writing that expresses emotions in rhythm and style. Inspiration, something that stimulates creativity. Silhouette, a shadow outline of a person or object. Line work, the outlines and strokes in a drawing. Symbolism, using symbols to represent ideas or emotions. Dialogue, conversations between characters. Narrative, the sequence of events in a story. Bonus. Key phrases from the story. Phrase use/meaning. Memory matters. A central theme. History and personal connection are important. Build something from what's left. Symbolic of love and healing after loss. The city isn't a blank canvas. Highlights the richness of history and experience. Where dawn meets twilight. Metaphor for two people from different worlds meeting in harmony. You didn't just fail the building, you failed me. A powerful emotional line. The intersection of personal and professional conflict. Hey fluent friends! If you learned something new today, give this video a thumbs up and comment below with your favorite line. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss your daily dose of English confidence. Let's grow together. That's all for today. Listen every night before sleep and you'll become more confident in speaking English. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily English practice. Comment below your favorite sentence. See you in the next video.